Warning, this podcast contains blasphemy, heresy, and profanity. Proceed at your own risk.
Don't say no prayers for me, 'cause I'm exactly where I want to be. Yeah, I'm a sinner through and through, and I'll be waiting in hell for you.
From Purgatory, Pennsylvania.
From Inferno, Ohio.
I'm Sam.
I'm Dan.
And this is The Skeptical Satanist.
On tonight's episode, Nichole will bring Satan to Pittsburgh. Dan and I will come for your Bibles and for your shoes. And Brittany will come for your bigotry. But first, I'll be talking to Nichole from the Friends of the Satanic Temple in Pittsburgh. Hi, Nichole. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name's Nichole. Like you said, I'm one of the organizers for a Pittsburgh group. We are a Friends of group of the Satanic Temple. It's just awesome to get something up and started that I'm so passionate about. To have a group of individuals with the same thought process and everything, it's just incredible.
I'm so excited. I mean, I'm really new to TST myself, and at first when I first got interested, I looked and there was nothing in Pittsburgh. There was nothing in Pennsylvania. But and then you guys popped up, and I was really excited because I really do want to get involved. So a little bit of background. How long have you considered yourself a Satanist?
Let me see. I got out of religion when I was 16. So I've considered myself a Satanist probably for about 3 years now. I'm still fresh and new. The idea, I was kind of trying to find my reins and everything else like that. And when I want to stress enough, because I know sometimes it gets confusing for people. When we speak of Satanism in the sense that I'm stating it, I don't actually believe in a deity, Satan, or a deity of the devil. It's more or less an atheist view on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, that's I'm there myself. Did you have a religious upbringing at all, or were you ever religious at all?
I was a hardcore Baptist. I went to church every Sunday, every Wednesday. I grew up in it in my family. It was deep and instilled in me. And then one day I started to teach myself. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to question everything.
I've heard before it's like the best way to make an atheist is to have him read the Bible. So keep going.
But yeah, I grew up in this church thing, and it was sort of, in a way, it seemed so bizarre to me when you're looking from the outside in, and it seems so kind of brainwashy and robotic. And I just wanted to know more about life outside of religion, not having the idea that in order for you to have a good moral code, you have to believe in a Christian God. I wanted to separate myself from that. And it was really important to me. The process that I started getting into whenever I started separating myself from that was I was reading a lot of books from, the God Delusion. Up until recently started reading a lot and listening to a lot of Dr. Del Rey, who is an incredible secular psychologist.
That's great. Did you ever try to dabble in any other spiritual paths, whether it be like Buddhism or anything like that, or were you just go straight to atheism and straight into Satanism?
I did a little bit. I was interested in Wicca and Celtic. I was also interested, I have an Egyptian background as well as an Irish background, so I was looking at heritage more or less, so I dabbled in the Celtic stuff, and then I looked into the OTO and the Golden Dawn and Aleister Crowley, and for a year that was interesting, but yet again, it felt so robotic and just so, they were telling you how to think and telling you how to feel, and I wasn't okay with that.
Right. So how did you come across Satanism?
A couple years ago, I was looking at LaVeyan Satanism and everything. Mm-hmm. And it seemed a little too dressed up for me.
Yeah.
So, and then I started reading about, the Satanic Temple, and it was incredible. Everything that Lucien Graves does, and just that entire group is like working with charities and just, they're amazing, honestly.
Yeah, I came to it in much the same way. It was, I mean, at first I saw them as, some of their more outlandish stuff, and at first I equated them with the whole flying spaghetti monster thing, but then I realized it's like, no, there's a lot more to it than that. It's like, yeah, they are brilliant at trolling, but that's just one tool in the arsenal,
Oh yeah. And there's a group of people there that they're so intelligent. It sometimes just throws me because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm so happy to be a part of such a great group of people who are so intelligent. And
yep.
So much.
Yeah. And like even in my short time, it's just been fantastic. So are you open with other people about your religion, your friends, your family, outside of your fellow Satanists? And what kind of reaction have you had for those that you have told?
I wasn't at first. Growing up Baptist, I was extremely terrified to tell my family. My friends are pretty much like me, that was never a problem. My family has been an extremely huge obstacle for me. I've had family not speak to me anymore. I've had family refuse to believe that I don't believe in a Christian God. I've had some bad experiences. It's been stressful, but the way I look at it is if somebody can't accept you for how you think and how you feel, then honestly, do you really need those people?
No, I'm so with you there. Yeah, my family is completely self-made, so I feel everything that you're saying right there.
Yeah.
What kind of misconceptions have you come across about Satanism, and how did you address them?
I have had some crazy questions. Do you eat babies? No, I have a 2-year-old. I have a 2-year-old daughter. I live a normal life just like everybody else. I just choose not to believe in something that isn't scientifically proven or scientifically accurate.
Right.
And that's basically what I say. I give a lot of ideas about science and how I can disprove things. Like, when people say, oh, there's spirits, it's like, no, you just have electric energy in your house. Maybe you should get that checked.
Yeah, exactly.
So I hate to say that I kind of giggle at it, but I do in a sense.
Yeah.
Some of the things are just crazy.
Oh, it's insane. It's really insane. Yeah, I mean, so like going on to the Satanic Temple, especially like the 7 Tenets. I mean, anybody who's read those, well, they espouse values that many would agree with, even if they don't identify as a Satanist. So for you, why Satan, and why just not call yourself like a humanist? So what does the label of Satanist give you that humanism lacks?
In a sense, for me, humanism and atheism, Satanism gave an aspect of, ooh, I want to know more, because it has the name Satan attached to it. And it's like, ooh, you're not just somebody that doesn't believe in something. What do you believe? It was kind of like the shock value and me wanting people to question me wanting to educate people. It was more than just saying that I don't believe in something. Right.
That makes a lot of sense. So we've got a brand new group just starting up. We just had our first online meeting just a couple of minutes ago. What made you decide to start up a group? And how long has this been in the making?
Well, I know myself and a colleague, one of the other people in our group have been trying to do this for a couple months now. Sometimes it takes months, sometimes it takes years, sometimes it takes weeks. It's just, I wanted to do this because it was important to me. Because, like you said, the 7 Tenets and all that just spoke so much to me and my moral compass that I needed it to be done. And we didn't have anything here, and it was so important for us to have something.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, so what's in store? What's in store for the future?
I guess people are going to have to tune in and find out.
That's great. That's great. If anyone wants to get involved, you can find us on Facebook at the Friends of the Satanic Temple Pittsburgh. You'll find a link in the show notes, so come on down. Nichole and myself will both be there, plus a lot of other friendly people. And from there, we'll be talking to you soon. Anything else you want to tell anybody about Satanism, about the group, anything else?
Mostly just follow what your mind tells you. Don't feel like you're trapped into something because your family or your friends tell you you have to. Be true to yourself. Realize what your moral ground is. And never be afraid to ask questions. Always ask questions.
All right. Thanks so much for coming on for our very first show, Nichole. I'm so proud to have you as my first guest. Have a great night, and hail Satan.
All right, hail Satan, hail yourself.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
They tried to drag me into the church. They tried to make me drink the holy water, but it was bitter on my lips. It burned my fingertips. I'd rather choke and die of thirst. Don't say no prayers.
Joining me now is Daniel. How you doing, Daniel?
I'm doing good.
So have you heard the Bible is going to be banned as hate speech?
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be great, but is there a catch?
All right, so here we are. This is from the Friendly Atheist, that Trump's spiritual advisor, Paula White, who recently said that she blessed the White House with the superior blood of Jesus, told televangelist Jim Baker that Christians must back Trump in 2020 or else the Bible will be banned as hate speech. White claimed that the Republican Party's ability to push judges to federal benches with lifetime appointments was reason enough to back Trump no matter what else was happening. Even if they personally dislike Trump, she warned, you're going to have to make a decision that won't be just held accountable here for how things turn out for you, your children, and your grandchildren. But you're going to have to stand accountable before God one day. If we can change the Supreme Court, you don't think all hell is trembling right now? All right, you're a Satanist. Are you trembling? I'm trembling.
I'm not trembling. No, not in the least.
They have already passed legislation in states that says the Bible is a book of hate speech. It's only a matter of time. Those laws are already passed. What legislation is that? Who the hell knows? It's Paula White, not somebody with credibility.
Oh, wow.
No such legislation exists, but you can fully expect conservative Christians to mount a defense of re-election based solely on his ability to let the Federalist Society and Mitch McConnell take over the nomination and confirmation process. They're coming for your guns. They're coming for your Bibles.
Yeah.
Hide your kids. Hide your wife.
And this is coming from a prosperity gospel pastor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's actually Paula White. She's talking to Jim Baker, but I think, yeah, she's like one of...
Well, no. She was the senior pastor of New Destiny Christian Center.
Oh, was she? Okay.
And a non-denominational, multicultural megachurch.
Multicultural, that's
so
like...
They even let other people in that aren't white. Yeah.
Multicultural. Hey, we allow Swedes and Norwegians.
They let orange people in there. Yeah. It's just all the nice people.
The best people. The biggest people.
The best people.
The biggest people.
Bigly.
And look at my African American. Look at my African American.
Oh my God. I can't believe that didn't end it right there. Yeah. I don't get it. But this is stuff that would be talked about in the church I grew up in. This is the stuff I'm sure they're talking about, stuff just like this. And it allows them to indoctrinate more. It allows them to continue to just feed bullshit to people. They work on people's fears.
The victimization, when you have that, like, you are in the position of, like, you are white, you are rich, you are in power, and you're playing victim.
Exactly.
Fuck you.
Like, you've already got all of these sheep together, and you've already got their money and everything. You've already fleeced them. I mean, so what the hell is this? Why scare them more? Is it just trying to get more, like, squeeze the rest of the money out of the group? Or
no, yeah, I think it's a culture of fear. And for people, like I said, for people with privilege, equality feels like oppression. They're not trying to take your Bible away, but we're trying to take away your ability to indoctrinate people that don't necessarily subscribe. Your family, you can do whatever the fuck you want with your family. You want to raise your children to believe utter nonsense, that's on you. You want to start bringing it into public schools? No. Or if you do pass out Bibles in schools, fine. Then you're going to be able to hand out the Bhagavad Gita. You want to hand out the Satanic Bible. You want to be able to hand out, like, everything else. And the Bible is fucking hate speech. It is.
Yeah.
Awful.
Not to mention it, like the places in the Bible. I'm pretty sure there's stuff about women not supposed to be preaching and stuff in there. If I'm not mistaken. To be able to talk.
No.
Right.
Yeah. They're not supposed to do anything.
In fact, they're property, according to their Bible. I can't imagine how getting your morals out of a book where I can't imagine it. I was in it, but it's just amazing now seeing it and looking back at it, indoctrinated into it all, and I bought into a lot of it without question. Still had the glazed over look on my face, much like she does.
It's hilarious.
No, not quite that bad. I can't say that, but it's Trump's spiritual advisor. I just can't. Why? They already think Trump's this great Christian man and everything, so why does he need a spiritual advisor?
I mean, honestly, I will give him that, because, like any leader should have advisors. You're not going to be the expert on everything. You might have good foreign policies.
So are my taxes paying for this spiritual leader?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't think that's an official position, but it's it's not a cabinet position, not fucking yet at least. But
if nothing else, she's getting to profit off the fame.
And exactly, it's more like people that they just tend to listen to. All right, did you get your Jesus sneakers yet?
I haven't gotten my Jesus sneakers yet. First, when you told me this, I was just thinking that it was going to be slippers with like the realistic looking feet, and have like a hole, like a realistic looking hole going through a foot, like on both feet.
Oh, like what were they?
Just picturing like house slippers.
No, like the Vibrams with the remember the Vibrams but with holes in them.
Yeah. Oh, like some redneck was playing with her gun one day and came up with the idea. Shut a hole in my foot.
Exactly. Shut a hole in my foot. Stigmata.
Jesus shoes it is.
But you know what's so funny? Within a week of the other, and I will link to both stories in the show notes. So within a week or two of the other, we had the Jesus sneakers, which were basically basically a social commentary about this whole crossover idea of two different companies merging to put out a product that has nothing to do with each other. So this guy created the Jesus sneakers that had water from the river, holy water from the River Jordan, and sold them for $3,000. And I think I have to look up the story, but there's also that there is a new digital wearable product. It's a digital rosary. And as far as I can tell, it's a thing. No, it's okay. The wearable rosary. This is from the Vatican. The Catholic Church put this out. Like, I think, they didn't make it themselves, obviously, but like they. No. Here's the story. This is from Engadget. The Vatican is hoping to attract tech-savvy youngsters to the Catholic Church with the launch of a click-to-pray e-rosary, a wearable device connected to a mobile app that's activated by making the sign of the cross.
I'm just now seeing the new age of Catholics, of Catholicism. It's going to be digital rosaries, and I mean, are they going to have virtual reality priest sessions or?
Well, at least the VR priest won't be able to rape you.
Yeah,
that could be a good thing. You know.
I mean, you don't know what they're doing off camera. That's the only thing. What amazes me is couldn't they have just made an app?
No, it's attached to an app, but so you have the wearable, and then it's like the Apple Watch, but it's a rosary. But you know what? Okay, this is what I fucking love, right? And
I don't get it though. Don't they go through the beads in their hands and stuff? Isn't that supposed to help them focus on their little
and I think the way it
the
works.
Whole idea of it. I didn't grow up
right, so I think the way it works, it's like this little bracelet, and I guess as you rotate it around your wrist, then it tracks where you are in the rosary or something like that. I don't know, but this is what I love, and. In case you lose your place. Well, I mean, if you got to say that, I think the whole point is, okay, you're supposed to say this thing 50 fucking times, and you'd be like, was that 37 or 30? So I think I do think that's the whole point of the beads.
Those repetitious words that their Bible warns against doing.
So no, but this is what I love from the Engadget article that's cracking me up. Well, most don't think of the Vatican as the most tech-forward establishment. There are actually plenty of signs that the church is getting with the times. Who could forget Pope Francis starting his own Instagram account, or the Vatican using messaging app Telegram to communicate. What the fuck is Telegram? No, to communicate and help Catholics during Lent. So, hey, next up, they're going to have a MySpace page.
What was the Telegram? Is that an app or something
messaging
too?
app?
What is?
Never heard of it.
Oh, no, I thought they were having a Biden moment there for a second or something. Going back to telegraphs and... yeah.
That was fucking
Let me turn on the radio
kids
and get
nowadays,
my
they listen to
machine
them records, them 8-tracks. I've never heard of it.
Out of the loop.
Yeah, it's just basically I guess it's just an instant messaging app that's not owned by Facebook. But you know what kills me? It's like, it's going to be a wearable because that's such a big thing. Yeah, it's a Fitbit for praying.
I love how they took all of the things I don't know. That could be something even if you weren't necessarily in the church or whatever anymore, that you could use those beads to help self-soothe or something, or to help count, with anxiety and stuff like that. Meditation, I guess, to a certain extent.
But you can get a set of beads for $3 or $4. This is This is $110 digital Fitbit type wearable thing to do rosary praying on.
And it doesn't seem like it's nearly as, for the cost, what are you getting? You're getting another thing that you can, another, circular object you can put on you and count? I'm just wondering what the next one's going to be, what their next step is going to be. Are they going to have, a Crucify Jesus app out or something? What? Crucifixation?
Crucifixion's a dawdle. It gets you out in the sun. And I have Brittany on here. Brittany, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I live here in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I'm 27. I am a single mother of a 4-year-old son named Judah.
I go to college, just kind of an average, normal person for the most part. I am a Satanist. I suppose you could call me that. As of past couple of weeks, I was a waitress. Now, obviously, I am not.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about how would you describe your flavor, I guess, of Satanism? Or Levian, Satanic Temple, something in between?
I guess kind of a little bit of everything. I don't really identify with one specific. I kind of just do my own thing, and my values and my views kind of most closely relate to Satanism. And so that's just kind of what I went with. I kind of have views all over the place, so I don't really stick to one specific thing.
Theistic or non-theistic? Do you believe in a literal Satan?
I do not, no.
No. And that seems to be pretty common, but there are some people out there that do subscribe to that. So, but yeah, it's just more of like the tenets and the beliefs and the self empowerment that goes along with it.
Yeah, I definitely kind of go with that self empowerment. I do worship my own self, and I play by my own rules and do my own thing. And as long as nobody else is getting hurt, and I'm being respectful to those around me, I think that that's kind of just what works best for me.
Do you find any, fun use in any ritual at all? Do you have any type of thing you've involved in with that, or is it just more of?
Nope, it's kind of just self-practice, kind of just my own thing. I have read the Satanic Bible, and I do kind of follow Satanic Temple and stuff like that. I'm not officially involved with them or anything like that, but I think that they have a lot of great views. Some obviously I don't agree with, and some I do. So I kind of just, like I said, do my own thing and, live my own life the way it makes me happy. So
that's great. So you've received a lot of media attention the last couple of days. Tell us what happened.
Yes. So I was working in a local restaurant, bar and restaurant called Fat Joe's here in Fond du Lac.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there for about 2 months, so haven't been there too long. I just recently moved back to Fond du Lac. I grew up here, went to high school here, went off for college, and did the whole college thing and all that fun stuff. Just recently moved back here with my son so he could start school a little bit closer to family. So I was only there for about 2 months. It was Saturday night. I want to say it was the 12th, but I can't remember for certain the date.
Sure.
Just a normal Saturday night, nothing too out of the ordinary. A group of 3 came in, one being a transgendered woman. They're regulars. They come in every so often, usually have some appetizers, have a couple beers, and, go about their business. I was their server that night.
Mm-hmm.
Always have great conversation with them. They're always very polite. Never had any issues with them. They hung out for a couple hours, had their appetizers, had some beers, and they were kind of just wrapping up with their evening. When a table of 2 came in, which was an older couple, they sat closer to the bar, and I was standing near the bar, kind of scoping out the whole restaurant. I was kind of in between tables. All my tables were doing okay, so had a couple minutes to hang back, just kind of serving. There was a band setting up, so just kind of checking everything out. Talking to some of the other servers. When I noticed that the older couple were kind of giving dirty looks and staring at the table with the transgendered woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of observed. I didn't say anything. I was just kind of scoping out the situation to see, how it was all going to play out.
Sure.
And they started making like really nasty comments, derogatory comments, transphobic comments about the transgendered woman at the table,
mm-hmm.
and then turned to me, who was standing, I was maybe about 6 feet away from them, and they were probably about 15 feet from the table of 3.
Right.
And they started asking me, don't you think that's disgusting? Don't you think that's just wrong? Like, why would they be allowed in public? The transgender woman was wearing a dress. They were making comments about that. To which I immediately replied, no, I don't think that's wrong. And I walked away.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other servers came up and told me that the manager had told me to take the table of 2,
mm-hmm.
which obviously at that point I was pretty flustered with the whole situation, and I didn't like what they were saying. So I found my manager and I said, hey, I don't feel comfortable serving this table. Can somebody else please take it? And, she said, why? And I said, well, this is what happened. And she told me, suck it up. And I said, no, I won't. I won't serve them. And so she said, then go home to, I'm kind of a smart ass. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll leave. Bye. So I clocked out and I left. And then I, went home, and I was pretty angry about it, how she handled it. She's just one of those people who, she's the boss, so she runs the entire world. She's got a God complex. And so it wasn't anything I wasn't familiar with. That day, I went home and I posted a status on Facebook saying that I got sent home because I refused to serve a table making transphobic comments. And that was really the end of it. I, went about my night as normal, and that was it. Obviously people were messaging me on Facebook asking what happened. I didn't tag the business or say anything negative about the business, just said exactly what happened.
Right.
And so the next day I went in for a previously scheduled staff meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got there, the manager pulled me into the office and basically told me, what you did last night, you refused to serve a table, and that makes you unreliable, so we're firing you. And, I immediately reiterated, so you're firing me because I refused to serve that specific table.
Right.
And, she said yes. And I said, so you're telling me if they had been making racist comments or anything like that, and, we have African Americans on the staff, we have other LGBTQ members on staff. And so I was, really surprised that she was taking it as far as she was, because anybody could have been in the situation and been, uncomfortable. We've had other staff members switch tables before. It's nothing unusual.
Right.
So I felt like she was really just kind of taking it out of hand. But, I said, if they were making racist comments, would you expect me to serve them too? And she said, yes, you don't have a choice. You have to stay neutral. You can't, whatever they're saying shouldn't matter to you. And I said, well, it does matter to me because, we can't let people say stuff like that. That's inappropriate. And she said, people say something like that all the time here. Like, you just have to ignore it. And I said, well, if that's, the way you choose to run your business, that's fine. But I don't, take kindly to that kind of thing. And I left, which then obviously I posted the status then saying I was fired. And that's kind of the one that blew up, and everybody started sharing it, and the media got contacted. They contacted me, and I ended up on a couple news stations. The paper did a story about it, and it's just been kind of blowing up since then. So
yeah, that's and hey, good for you. And honestly, I don't believe for a second, like, for example, if you were African American and the couple had been making racial comments, I don't believe for a second that they would have made you wait on that table. And like, to be clear to the listeners, you do identify as LGBT?
I do, yes. I am pansexual.
Yeah, and are you open about that? Would your employers have known that?
I'm not certain that the owners would know, but I have openly stated it with some of the other employees.
Right, so it wasn't exactly a secret.
I didn't just walk up to the owner and hey, by the way, I like I like girls and boys and everybody in between. But no, it's definitely something that I openly post on Facebook, which I was friends with the manager on Facebook, so she very well could have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously been pretty open with, the employees that I was close with. So it's not something that I hide. I'm pretty open about all of it.
Right, and not that it even matters. It's like, even if you're just an ally, or if you might have family members or friends or whatever, and you would just be just as offended, but even more so when you're part of the community that you should not be asked.
And I do. I have nieces and nephews who are half African American. I have cousins who are half African American. So if it had been something racial, I wouldn't have served them either. If they said something about Jewish people, I wouldn't have served them either. So if they're being hateful people, then obviously that's going to make me uncomfortable, and I'm not going to want to have anything to do with them.
Right. And just to play devil's advocate here, and honestly, whichever however you feel about it is perfectly okay. Was the tipping point the fact that they were making the comments, or the fact that they really just tried to draw you into the conversation? And
honestly, people are 150% entitled to their own opinion, and I will never, ever, ever tell anybody that they cannot have their own opinion, ever. I have some pretty, strong opinions on certain things that other people don't agree with, but I will never tell someone that they can't have their own opinion. But the moment you're in a public setting and you're saying those things out loud, especially such polar opinions, that's when you're crossing a line. And so, had they just been looking and maybe whispering to themselves, I probably wouldn't have said anything. But the fact that they were saying it verbally out loud and then including me in the conversation was just kind of too much for me to stand idly by and just listen to.
And it really surprises me that the fact that they thought they could, bring you into the conversation in the first place. I want to be clear to the listeners. If you don't know what Brittany looks like, if you haven't seen her picture, you don't look like a Mormon girl. Let's just put it that way. You're, visible tattoos, yeah. Piercings, gauges, all that. You're not the, you don't look like a MAGA girl,
Right.
So.
Right. And that was like a big thing for me too. Like, do I look like somebody who is going to agree with you? Because I mean, based on my appearance, I'm kind of an outcast. So like,
right.
You're making fun of somebody who is outcast, like people who are being outcasted. So I would think that I would agree with you.
Yeah. And, and to be clear, I have been in your manager's position before. I've been in the restaurant business my entire life, on and off. I want all our listeners to know from a restaurant manager's point of view that whenever a server is uncomfortable with a table, for whatever reason, it's common practice to let them pass off the table to another server, and if that's not possible, then the manager should take it to the thing yourself.
Right, and if someone is working for tips, I'm like, I should have the right to say, hey, I'm not comfortable taking a table, or hey, can somebody else take the table? That's my money, so I should have, the choice whether or not I want to take it.
Yeah, and absolutely, and and the safety of the servers is important. It's I've had servers who it's like, hey, these guys are being creepy, or it doesn't matter, and it's usually not. It's usually done without question. It's like, I'm not comfortable with this table. They're being rude. They're being creepy. They're being whatever. It doesn't even have to be like a stance like you took. It's just, I'm not comfortable. It's the job of the manager to keep their servers safe.
Right. And that was definitely something I picked up on pretty quickly, is that they are more concerned with making money and running their business than they are with the, safety of their customers or safety of their employees. So I honestly wasn't surprised with how it played out. From everything I've gathered working there for the past 2 months, like, this is something 100% that they would do. So it's not out of the ordinary, which is really sad.
Yeah, there was a bunch of pushback after the fact, too, from, I guess they ended up shutting their Facebook page down. There were a lot of negative comments about the business.
Yeah, so basically my original post after I had been fired, I asked everybody to leave reviews if they thought, what happened was wrong, and just let them know what they did was not right.
Mm-hmm.
And they got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reviews,
mm-hmm.
to the point where they were copying and pasting the same response to everybody. And then when everybody started calling them out for that, they ended up shutting down the Facebook page because they couldn't keep up with all the negative reviews. And now on Google, I guess they've been deleting all the negative reviews off their Google business page. But the fact that they're very well aware of what they did was wrong, and now they're trying to hide it. They've been telling people all sorts of stuff that's just not true. It's just, they are the type of people who they will never admit they were wrong.
Right. And honestly, like I said, and this is one thing, like, as a Satanist, you do have the right to offend, but that doesn't not mean that you are protected from that. You can say whatever you want. But right. You also, free speech does not mean freedom from repercussions. If they want to cater to neo-Nazi Proud Boys, that's their right and that's their business. But they they should be called out for that, and
right,
and people should know what they're getting. Who they're
right,
supporting.
If that's the type of people they want to let in their restaurant, they shouldn't be surprised if somebody's not comfortable serving them.
Absolutely.
Because not everybody agrees with that.
What kind of pushback have you received from that? I see you've got a good bit of positive support. Have you received any negative pushback?
Yeah, not as much as I was really expecting. I was actually really surprised.
Mm-hmm.
As someone, I spend a lot of time on the internet and social media, so, I see what happens when, things get posted on the internet. People will say whatever they want and without any repercussions. So I was really expecting a lot of negative feedback, and I really haven't really gotten any. I've gotten a couple, just stupid things, like somebody, made fun of my tattoos. Like, ooh, you got me good. Like, you sure taught me not to stand up for anything. Like, but really, it's 99% of it has been positive. My Facebook has been blown up. My Twitter has exploded with messages from people in the trans community, and not in the trans community. Everybody has just been being so gracious, so thankful for what I did. People have offered to pay me compensation for lost wages, to which then I just recently posted the link. I'm kind of partnering with a shelter in Milwaukee called Courage MKE. They are a shelter for LGBTQ teens who are homeless in the Milwaukee area. So I'm encouraging everyone who is offering compensation to me to please donate it to them. And help. They have 4 teenagers there right now who are homeless, and they obviously need toiletries, clothes, anything, food, everything. So I'm really hoping that with all of this media attention, we can get some help to them.
That's great, and you'll send me a link, and we'll put a link to that site in the show notes. So if anybody wants to contribute, they'll be able to go there. Now, from here on in, what would you like to see happen? What do you want to do with this? You've got your 15 minutes of fame. What do you want to do?
Honestly, I'm just kind of ready to get back to my normal life. It's been very overwhelming, all of the attention I've been getting. Obviously, I plan to still, I'm still working with Courage. I've been asked to do a couple podcasts, including this one. Editor and reporter for Teen Vogue asked me some questions for an article. And I'll also be doing I guess kind of like a speech at a Trans Remembrance Day in Clare.
That's great.
On November 20th. They have a transgender woman on their city council, I believe she's part of, and she reached out and asked if I'd be willing to speak. So I'm definitely still going to be, involved and promoting and trying to do everything I can to, make a difference. But I'm ready to kind of relax and be a normal person again.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Anything else you'd like to bring attention to, since you do have a platform right now? I mean, any other causes, any other, anything like that, or did you just already cover it?
No, I'm still kind of encouraging people. Obviously, people are still pretty angry about the whole situation. So if anyone wants to leave reviews for the restaurant, they absolutely can. I'm just really, really, really pushing for people not to be hateful, not to leave any, derogatory comments. More than willing, or more than, you guys can leave whatever you want and say whatever you want, but don't name call. That's just kind of defeating the purpose of all this. Right. I didn't want to serve a table because they were name calling people, so it just doesn't look good. So people can leave reviews and stuff like that. And otherwise, check out the donations for Courage, and just, stand up against the hate. And people in the trans and LGBTQ community are just as worthy of our respect as anybody else. So I just, really want people to realize that.
Yeah, I mean, this story really got to my attention, and I reached out to you right away. My best friend in the world is a trans woman, and so I'm very, very sensitive to what they go through. I don't get the vitriol. I really don't get it. I mean, I don't think wearing a Make America Great hat again is cool, but people still do it. But I don't tell them they look, stupid. Yeah.
But, if I don't like something, I just kind of keep it to myself usually. So
sure.
When people feel the need to outwardly be mean to somebody else, it just doesn't make sense in my head. So I wish I had a good answer why people do stuff like this, but I just don't have a good answer for it. Yeah, I have no idea. Apparently the couple who was making the comments were regulars, and the bar's trying to say that it was just a private conversation and nobody was supposed to hear it. But I mean, you're in a bar, like,
right.
People can hear you.
Yeah, and they brought you into the conversation.
Right, and that was my big thing. And I'm like, it'd be one thing if they were like quietly whispering to themselves. Like, if you want to be a hateful fuck, then that's between you and your wife or whatever's going on there. But you're talking to me at this point. You're talking to a stranger. Like, what if I had been trans? Right,
and you weren't even their server at that. Maybe just some other person there.
Yeah, I didn't know that I was going to be serving the table until after this had happened. And at that point, I was like, I'm not going back over there, so someone else needs.
All right, I think that's all I got. Anything else you want to say?
No, I don't think so. I think, I pretty covered everything pretty well. So I just hope that the story gets out and that, by one small act of refusing to serve a table, we can, kind of make a difference in the world. So
I don't know how familiar you are. You said you're kind of loosely associated with the Satanic Temple, but the second tenet reads, "The struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions," and I think your actions embody that more than anybody I've seen in a long time. So,
well, thank you.
Yes,
thank you. I appreciate that.
And thank you so much for standing up for our friends, and hopefully we'll hear from you again soon. And
yeah, I like that.
All right, you take care. Thank you.
Our music is from Bridge City Sinners through and through. You can check them out on Facebook or flailrecords.com. Our artwork is by Jamie Coptic. The original can be found at jamiecoptic.weebly.com. Views expressed on this show are solely our own and don't necessarily reflect those views of the Satanic Temple or any other organization. To contact us, send us an email at jesuschristalmighty@hotmail.com or send us a message on Facebook. Like and share our page, and don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, and check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/skeptical_Satanist.
Hail Satan and hail yourself.